Ladies and gentlemen, today a review of Drive Away Dolls, directed by Ethan Cohen. Finally, a comedy I actually really enjoy this year. Dolls really does harken back to some of those more zany, crazy character-filled dramedies that were created by the Cohen brothers, which, by the way, most of those really out there comedies were directed by Joel by himself. This is actually Ethan's very first directorial debut without his brother. And he pulled absolutely no punches. This movie is filled and brimming with attitude, style, dark humor, and a lot of fun, for sure. And what is presented is a raunchy lesbian road trip movie, and that is a hard R on the raunchy, by the way, where two women meet a whole host of characters while being chased by gangsters because they found something that they weren't supposed to find. I had a really good time with this movie. There is a lot of style and really, really cool ideas here. However, there are a lot of tropes in this movie that very much harken back to your paint by numbers road trip comedy movie, where the main characters are getting chased down by the bad guys. As somebody that I can definitely forgive for how much fun I had. One of the main reasons that I enjoy Coen Brothers movies is because of the character work in them. They do a lot of work to make sure that the performances that the actors are giving to the characters in their movies are very dialed in and are very much unique to the movie that they're in. They really want their actors to chew as much scenery as possible, and that's why you get some of the more memorable moments in their movies, because their characters are just so damn colorful. At the beginning of the movie, you're introduced to the two main characters. They are played by Margaret Qualley and Geraldine Viswanathan, and their chemistry throughout the entire movie is perfect. The situations that they put themselves in are extremely hilarious. They have really good chemistry, and their relationship is the center of this movie. It is really the heart of the movie. The parts of this movie without them in it revolve around a criminal underbelly where you meet a whole host of colorful characters that help to illustrate how unserious and goofy a lot of this movie is. That's kind of where a lot of my criticism for this movie really would lie. This movie is very much aware of what it's trying to be, and it is trying to be a super goofy, raunchy, like late 90s, early 2000s road comedy. The way that the editing is, the way that the scenes are written, and the colorful kind of neo-noir way that it's filmed as well is just very stylized in that format. I don't think it's too far to say that there's a lot of zaniness and whips and flashes that happen throughout this movie. And there's definitely some filler as well. This is an hour and 40-minute long movie. That's including credits. So this is a very short movie. And there were certain vignettes that were introduced to this movie in between scenes where you could just tell, though, they needed to fill some time, so they put this in there. But for me, it worked, for sure. And I can see, well, if somebody else is watching this movie, they may be a little bit put off by the way that the humor is dark, by the explicit use of nudity and sexuality. I said raunchy, and I mean it. This is a very raunchy movie. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm not a prude in any way, but like, they went far in this movie. And I can totally see a lot of people being put off by a lot of that stuff. For me, it played great because I felt like I was in on it the entire time, and I get what they were trying to say, and I had a really good time with it. And also because the actors themselves are so good, and they're actually, you can kind of tell they're having a good time too, that energy does feed off of the screen for sure. But like, be forewarned. The trailer, the regular trailer really doesn't set you up for exactly what this movie's gonna be. If you have any prudishness inside of you, maybe go see something else. Oh, and I would say the script is not very tight at the beginning, so there's actually some things that I missed because they're just moving around a lot. It's kind of haphazard where we're moving between a lot of scenes, and I definitely felt myself lost a little bit because this movie just kind of gets up from the jump and just doesn't stop. So I think that there's definitely some pacing issues for sure at the beginning, but towards like the end of the first act to the rest of the movie, you know what ride you're on, so you know what to expect from scene to scene. This was definitely a good time, and I definitely think that you should come into this movie with a bit of an open mind for how dark and humorous it's going to be and how crazy, goofy, and raunchy it's going to be in your face about. I give Drive Away Dolls a 7.8 out of 10. A solid, fun, super raunchy lesbian road comedy that pulls absolutely no punches. Ethan Cohen's first directorial debut without Joel, proves to be a zany, fun, dark ride. I would say it does suffer from a bit of the fact that there's a lot of this movie that is kind of paint by numbers road trip cat and mouse game movies that we've seen come out of the late 90s, early 2000s movie industry, but with really good performances from Margaret Qualley and Geraldine Viswanahi, whose chemistry really does carry this film, and they are really the kind of emotional heart of this movie that has a whole lot of zaniness and fast whips and pans and a little bit of a chaotic pacing surrounding it. I had a really, really good time with this movie. Be forewarned, as I said earlier, this thing is raunchy and it gets dark for sure. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate it.